Hi, I'm Cindy Stewart. Thank you for joining us today. I have such an exciting show and we've got lots to talk about. My guest today is Charity Bradshaw and I just love her. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
I am too. She's an entrepreneur, she's a wife, she's an author, she's a juggler. She can do most anything. You know how we are. Sometimes we just have diversity, but the things that she's been able to accomplish in really a short period of time has amazed me, and I want to dig into some of those things. You know, first I want to say she is the daughter of Joan Hunter, which I'm sure many of you know who she is, and the granddaughter of Charles and Frances Hunter, the Happy Hunters. So that is quite a legacy that you carry for you and your children. I love legacy. I love the fact that and all I knew about them, I never saw them in person, your grandparents, but I read their books and I just thought, I love what they carry and I just want that impartation. So what was it like being, you know, the granddaughter of this famous Happy Hunters?
Well, it's one thing when you grow up in a life and you have no idea that it's not normal. I had no idea that not everybody else had this kind of life. And I remember the arena events going, you know, like somehow at 9 and 10 years old, I had permission to go run up and down the bleachers and just, you know, I got to pray for people and I got to see people healed. I remember the very first meeting that I got to go to was a very large, like I said, arena-sized meeting, and my grandparents gave me a catcher. I had my very own catcher, which I also think now might be like my own like security detail. I don't know. Basically, somebody to make sure I'm okay. And they, I was short, you know, I was a kid, and so anybody who came to my prayer line would need to like get down to my level. And there was this gentleman at the very first meeting, and he came to me, and he said he was deaf in one ear, and I inside myself said, "All right, God. This is one that he's gonna know if it doesn't work or not. Like, I need this to happen for him." Like, I was, it was just the very most childlike prayer I could even pray was, "God, this is a real one where he'll know, you know, if he's healed or not." And I prayed for him, and he said thank you, and he walked away, and I was just like, oh no, it didn't work. Like, I was just, and I felt all this pressure on myself. Like, this was, I had to do this for him. And the next day, I was running the stairs and the bleachers, and a man grabs my arm, and of course, at first, it startled me. And he's like, "You prayed for me yesterday." He's like, "I want to give you this bookmark." And he's like, "I want you to know that when you prayed for me, I was healed. And keep this bookmark to remember that." And I mean, I probably started running those bleachers even faster after that. I was just so jazzed that happened. And so that was, you know, just some of the things that
you got
I got to experience at 8, 9, 10 years old. Yeah.
And that was a normal life for you. Because even now, was your mom in ministry at that time, or was she still in business?
My mom and dad were still ministering with them and helping support them in administrative ways and things like that. And so, being the oldest of my parents' tribe, I got to go, you know, on those probably more than my sisters did. But just kind of see, and you know, the late nights of like organizing envelopes and making sure things are done and folding prayer cloths. And
you're probably really good at that.
Like, I mean, you know, you don't know it's not normal until you get older. You're like, oh, this wasn't your life.
You didn't have to do offering envelopes.
Right.
I know, it's so funny.
Exactly.
So is that your fondest memory of them? You know, that in an arena setting, but just as them as grandparents, not as the famous Hunters.
So if I could be transparent here, they had a hard time not being Charles and Frances Hunter.
Okay.
And one of the times that I was coming to them about the person that I thought I was going to marry, which I did end up marrying, I said...
You did or didn't?
I did.
Okay,
Yes, this is Ted, my husband. I was wanting to have a sit down with my grandparents because they had a marriage that I wanted something like. And I was like, can we just sit down and for 2 hours us not talk about how many people got saved today and who got healed today? And you guys could just be my grandparents. And so they honored that and we had a really great conversation. But most of the time our conversations was who got saved at the grocery store, who got saved at the restaurant, who got saved at the doctor's visit, who got saved on the plane, and who got healed. And so I can honestly say that who they were on stage was who they were when they were not on stage, sometimes to my detriment. I just wanted grandma and grandpa sometimes, but they were full of love, full of affection for not only us as their kids and grandkids, but deeply for each other, and that was such a gift to be able to see.
And they really just lived and breathed Jesus. And bringing people to Jesus. That is pretty amazing. So I want to talk a little bit, because you've got a diverse background. I know you own a business, you're a publishing company. Now, how did you get involved in publishing? Because when I talked to you, you were telling me, and I read your book about going to Nashville to be in the music industry. And that's a big turn of events from music to publishing. Same creativity, really.
So I went to Nashville right after my parents' divorce. God just kind of said, let's do a new start. That's the short version. Let's do a new start, new city, away from familiar connections and things like that. And my husband and I just started a brand new life in Nashville, kind of away from family. The leaving Cleve's what we called it. And it was right after 9/11, so it was a very difficult time to find work for me, not for my husband. And I had the pedigree, I had the sales, and I couldn't find a job to save my life. And he's like, in 2 days, gets a management job.
Wow.
So we're up there, and I just assumed because I have a music degree that music industry was where I was going to go. And I did. I started my own business with some people that are in the recording industry that you guys would probably already know who they are, and they helped me sort of start a business. And I was ending up having to work a part-time job myself to just simply pay myself because all the money from the business was having to pay my staff.
Right.
Maybe as entrepreneurs you can understand that.
Yes.
So my staff got paid first, then I got what was left, and then took another job. And in the middle of that, what I saw was my business wasn't growing. I was able to grow personally. I got basically what I call a 4-year business degree through the hard knocks of trying things. I learned a lot, and I from there went into hair. So I did, transferred same kind of thing of just loving one-on-one relationships and taking care of people, but just getting into the creative side of the hair industry. And I did that for 10 years, and it was fabulous. I was able to have my kids and be at home, and I would nurse my baby, then hand it to my client. They would hold the baby, and everybody was having a great time. And then in the middle of that, God challenged me because I was putting my husband through nursing school. He was reinventing himself. He was evolving, and it was fantastic and incredibly hard. And I thought that was our next step, was launching Ted into this career. I had my wonderfully thriving hair business, and in a service out of nowhere, and it was even like a pinch-hitting speaker. There was one person talk, and then the person got thrown in. And the topic was, what's next? And I got confronted in that service. I was not planning on any kind of confrontation because we've been focusing on Ted. This is a 4.5-year journey getting him launched into nursing school. And I'm confronted with what's next. And I'm like, what do you mean what's next? I've got my thing. I'm doing great. We're about to be dual income again. What are we talking about? And it's something got provoked in me to be ready that a next is coming, a change is coming, and to be ready and open for that. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. That was maybe June. August, we are invited to come speak to a marriage conference in Houston where my mom's ministry is. And we had been trying to find a bigger house in Nashville to accommodate more children and my father-in-law. Weren't able to find anything. And we go to Texas, and we sowed a big financial seed asking God to reveal where our house in Nashville was going to be, right? Because this was the size that we thought we were working with. And we come back from Houston after sowing that seed, and we're in Bed Bath & Beyond parking lot where all important conversations happen. And I hear God put in my heart, I can accelerate you if you move to Houston.
Wow.
You can stay here and do all that I've called you to do, but I can accelerate you if you move to Houston.
If you go back.
And both Ted and I had never really planned on moving back to Texas, which pretty much means you're going to move back to Texas.
Right.
And I had that conversation. I was like, how would you feel if we did that? He was like, good. So literally in a 5-minute conversation, we're moving back to Texas. And I am going to burn my ships. I'm not taking hair with me. I'm going to be rebranded as this whatever, and I thought author was gonna be the path, and and I thought that once you got your first book out there, just hold on, the phone's gonna be ringing, people are gonna be calling, trying to book you at their church, and I was just gonna be like, whoa, everybody calm down, I'm still a mom, let's get in line.
It's like a misnomer when it comes to that, right?
I had a total just skewed perspective of what was going to happen. And I had to also go through a little bit of a humbling process, and it was good for me. It was good. Those processes are often really good, that I had to sort of go through that humbling of, you can't just write a book and expect people to start calling you. So just in case anybody's wondering, that's not how it works. And so I started writing. I wrote 3 books in a very short amount of time. And what I discovered in that process is how to write a book in a short amount of time.
Right.
And going to my mom's meetings, month after month, year after year, you see some of the same people telling you they have a book idea. And a year later, they still have a book idea.
Right.
And a year later, and I was like, write the book. Just get it written. Quit talking and just do it. And so I started working with a business coach, and we kind of narrowed my niche down. And it was that I can help people write books, and I can do it quickly. And I saw what I needed, and I saw what I thought a lot of people needed, and I said, let's create a program to support all of those needs. Okay. So the whole publishing thing started out of me helping people start writing books. And I was just going to try to send these people out with their manuscripts to get them done, hopefully, just feeling that there's options everywhere. And when my clients were coming to me saying, nobody's returning my phone calls, nobody's keeping their word, I can't find anything, literally the publishing rose out of that righteous indignation that I had, because I wasn't seeing anybody producing works that, according to my standards, and I feel like I'm a pretty observant person, the excellence wasn't there, the relevance wasn't there. And so I literally started my publishing company called LifeWise Books because of the lack, or the hole, the wide open space that I saw to support Christian authors into getting their books produced with excellence.
Yeah, and it is a hard road, because I've had 4 books published. I've done it both through publishing house. I've done it individually. And you do think what God has put inside of you is so profound that people are going to be knocking down the doors. And it's not that people don't want it. It's just how to get it in a path where they're familiar with it, that they have access, that they have knowledge to it. So it's an interesting dynamic as far as
And I always tell people, we don't know how we know, but we have been trained to spot the difference.
Yes.
My kids can look at things like, that looks cooler. That's their word for it, right? Or whatever. But we know what looks amateur and what looks professional, and we are drawn to more professional. And so my heart is these authors who have these amazing messages, let's package it, let's make it look excellent, let's let it look like it has had all the support of everyone else's traditionally published book, but with all of the ownership, with all of the legacy of self-publishing. So to me, it's the hybrid, it's the beautiful blend of the best of both of those worlds.
Yes, and I know several people who have published with you, and all the information will be on the screen for you to look at. You can take a look at our website, LifeWise Books. Also, like I said, it's up on the screen for you. And what I saw was my friend Ruth Hendrickson is just the beauty. It looks like it was done by these 100-year-old publishing companies. And you've done an excellent job in doing that. So, and I read your book, Staying I Do. I want to say Say, because normally we say I do, but your book is Staying I Do. You've been married 20 years. We were talking about your anniversary. I love things on marriage. I've been married 42 years. So I am a proponent of helping people stay in the marriage that they stepped into. So tell me about your book. What made you and Ted write it together? Because that, I can't imagine me and my husband writing a marriage book together.
And let me tell you, it was nudge after nudge after nudge after suggestion after nudge, and it was not our idea. It was 100% not our idea to write that book. So it took a lot of external pressure, repeated pressure, to get us to write that book, because who at any point thinks they're qualified to write a book on marriage? Because life is still happening while you're married. And even in that process of going from it being written, even through the publishing, Ted and I experienced some marital challenges. I'm like, I don't even know if we can release this book. Like, like you have those kind of like,
obviously we're having our own issues.
Like you need to read chapter 7 again, just like stuff where, it's just of course you can zoom out and see this is opposition. This is sort of provoking the message, hoping that maybe you can disqualify yourself before that book comes out and changes people's lives.
That is a good word. I just want to stop there, because that is a word that anyone, if you're not writing a book, if you're not in the middle of a marriage or having a mess, that is a word that we need to hold on to. There is opposition coming against us to see if we will give up on what the calling is to not only step into, but that will transform us into that next season or that next breakthrough, right? I mean, I think that is a good word they have to hold on to. So go ahead, tell me about getting Ted, because I know your personality is very driven. Ted is a more
I'm
laid
the gas,
back and
he's the brakes, and you need both in a car. So
yes, you need both in a car.
We need both for safety.
That's a good analogy.
So, and my husband's a nurse and I'm a writer. So obviously, I knew that I'd be like me trying to step into a hospital. I mean, I know a lot, actually, from being his wife and helping him go through nursing school, so I actually have a lot of knowledge. But I can't start an IV. I've never done that. I mean, I know how to, probably do it in theory, but in practice, no. And so I didn't expect my husband to all of a sudden become an author. I just wanted him to put his voice in there, because what he adds is actually really amazing. His perspective and his gentleness, and he's very strong. And most people think that strong is loud and brash and abrasive. No, actually strong doesn't have to say anything. They're actually very calm people. And so I wanted his strength to come across in the message. I wanted his perspective to be there. And so I patiently and helpfully, got those words out and helped, just made sure that it did what he intended it for it to do as well. And I think people really benefit because the book, what you'll notice if you do get the book Staying I Do, is you'll see his voice. It'll say Ted, and then the section under that is his voice, and then you'll see Charity, and then there'll be a section under that's my voice. So you actually do get to hear from both of us. And I actually even had a lady tell me yesterday that she and her husband are reading the book, and he reads Ted's parts and she reads my parts.
That's so cool.
It's really cute.
Yeah.
So, but getting that book out, it took surrender.
Mm-hmm.
It took being willing to put our heart, our life, our soul on display
mm-hmm.
in the hopes, in the belief that God would use our things that we did right and our things that we did wrong to benefit other families. I'm the kind of person, I would rather learn from what you did wrong
mm-hmm.
than to do it myself and then have to go through that pain. So we have put so much in there in the hopes to prevent pain, if possible, unnecessary pain. I mean, I believe pain is there for growth, but unnecessary pain, it can just be destructive.
Yeah.
It can just be hard. And so we've put a lot of things in there to help prevent that unnecessary pain, should people choose to use it. Anything from communication. And you'll see our topics are not rocket science. and really what it is it's just like saying, to lose weight, you need to eat vegetables. Well, who wants vegetables? Vegetables aren't necessarily the sexiest
Let's have
thing.
Ice cream.
Yeah. But we all know it. And sometimes it's just a matter of having never seen it, or having never tried it, or having never stuck with it. There's just some really solid suggestions and plans and things that we implement. We talk about we don't go to bed angry. Now, I'm not saying, I should say we don't go to sleep angry. We've definitely got to bed angry. But we will lay there awake until 3 a.m. until one of us caves to the Holy Spirit saying, humble yourselves, apologize, And
I love it.
Yeah.
You know what I loved in the book? Because there's a couple of things in there that are just everyday marriage. Finances, communication, and those were powerful. But honesty, you don't really see that as a title in your marriage books and your marriage counseling. And the honesty and the rawness and the realness of what you guys shared and what you went through, even on the sexual side, as you talked about it, I felt like that was not only refreshing, but it was very challenging for people who read it. Mm-hmm. I can communicate with my husband and say, honey, would you mind picking up the groceries? Or honey, we need to work through this. But the honesty of revealing the true depth of your heart is a whole different ballgame. Mm-hmm. That is beyond communication. That is the raw and the realness of how you really feel, whether it's right or not, but it's how you feel, and being able to share that without feeling like it's going to destroy the marriage, or it's going to, cause so much damage it's irrevocable, or they will reject me because I've shared that. Mm-hmm. How was that process of really getting to that place where you and Ted could just be raw with each other at that level? Did it happen overnight? Were y'all married that way, or did you have to work into it?
Well, one of my grandparents' books was, I think, called How to Make Your Marriage Exciting. Mm-hmm. And the first chapter, they talk about honesty. And so you'll see, some of their core messages, like even to being honest to the portion of a thought, that is straight from them. I plagiarized them. I had their permission.
Yeah, of course.
And, but it does take practice. And part of that practice is, I'm going to try trusting you with a little bit and see how you handle it. And then I'm going to try trusting you with a little bit more and see how you handle it. One of the things we talked about in the book was a ropes course that I went to. And the ropes course, that we were up above the ground, and this was in college, so I wasn't married yet. There were 2 parallel ropes. And one of my teammates walked on that rope, and I walked on this one. And how we made it across was we had to lean into each other with our hands. And we had to put all of our weight into each other. Yeah. The moment that either of us wobbled back at all, it caused the other person that instability, that fall forward. Yeah. And in being honest and in receiving honesty, it has to be that we are both leaning in with 100% for that scenario to work.
Now, does it mean that being honest won't hurt? How can you be honest with someone? Sometimes people will couch it or cushion it because they know it might hurt their feelings. So what they're really thinking. Now, there's a difference between being vicious and actually trying to share something. How does that healing process work in getting you beyond, like you said, that 100%, you know, so they're 100% in there.
So I'll give you one of the first examples that comes to my mind immediately was, I think Ted and I had been married about a year, maybe 2 years. It was early, maybe a year. So let's say early on, very much in love. And I think everything is going great. We have a healthy sex life. You know, we've got no kids. You know, it's just whenever we want to, we can have sex. It was great. And then he comes to me one day and he was like, I need to tell you something. And I was like, this sounds different. And he was like, I'm struggling with lust. And my mind just starts spinning, like, how can he be struggling with lust? What am I not giving him? What is wrong with me? And I made it personal to me. And what he said after that really helped shift how I received his honesty. He said, I'm telling you so that we can fight this together.
Wow.
If I didn't feel like I could trust you with this information, I wouldn't share it with you.
Wow.
And he's like, I need your help. He's like, this doesn't have anything to do with you. He's like, you are more than enough. And he was validating me, and that was great. But what he was telling me is, he was like, I have so much trust for you and our relationship that I'm telling you one of my deepest, darkest secrets at this moment. And once I understood that, and once I kind of came down from the the offense or the inflammation of the information.
Yeah, I love that.
Which give yourself a minute to de-escalate and actually hear what they're saying. He was really telling me how much he loved me and trusted me with that information. And that was what allowed us to take a minute to pray. And then I said, thank you for sharing this with me. I know that was hard. And he was like, thank you for hearing me. I know that was hard. And honoring who each other is in that discussion was really important.
So did it take a little time to kind of work through the process? I'm sure it took time for him to work through his process and figure out what was the trigger there. Mm-hmm. But as far as working through the process of you just being able to still be free in your sexual relationship, all those different things, knowing that struggle was with him, did that affect you at all? I mean, and that's more of a curious question.
I mean, honestly, I don't remember, other than I just felt like I knew that he would tell me.
Okay.
It actually, if you pause and step back, I actually had more confidence after he told me than before, because I'm like, well, he's going to tell me.
Yeah.
If he's even telling me that he's struggling with the thought of lust, then that's where we're way ahead. We're not we're not in the damage control section.
Right.
We're in prevention.
Right.
And that's where we personally like to stay in our marriages, in the prevention versus in the damage control. And just to be honest, we've had more people who've been through divorce, who have not been married, that have read our book, than people I think who have been married. And I thought it was for the newlywed, for the nearly wed.
Yeah.
And people are like, I never thought I could ever even hope to get married again because of how bad this one went. And I feel like now I've got the equipment, now I've got some tools, now I've got even just some boundaries for myself, for them, and some good questions to talk about.
Yeah.
And that was something that really blew my mind. I didn't even put that in my target audience was divorcees or single people, but they're like, this is good for all relationships. I mean, obviously there are marital elements to it, but honesty applies to all relationships.
It does.
Communication, all relationships. Finances affect all relationships.
Yeah, I think so too. And what is that phrase you use? You rather be in the prevention versus the
damage control.
Damage control. I think that is a key piece. The risk of preventing what could be destruction, and risking your heart to really be honest, so you don't wait till a year or 10 years down the road and realize there's been that struggle and we just never could do anything about it because it was never revealed. And a lot of times in a marriage, when something's not right. You can sense that, things, even with business, I can sense when my husband, I can feel like when the business isn't quite going right. I can just feel. So when you're married to someone and you're joined with someone, you have a sense, and being able to actually get it out in the open to prevent destruction. Okay, there's one other thing. We've got about 5 minutes left, but you used a phrase called the 2% shift. And I love that. So I want you to tell us about that, because we want to learn from that.
Okay, awesome. So one of the things in whether it's been my health journey, because one of the parts of all this in the last 5 years, I've been able to lose and maintain about 70 pounds.
That is great.
Just so thankful to God every day. I'm thankful for that, because definitely yo-yoing before that, and I was like, let's just yo and stay stay down kind of a thing. But instead of focusing on how big something is, whether it's a marital issue, whether it's a financial issue, whether it's a health issue, is instead of looking at this big 100% gigantic problem or issue or adjustment that you want to make, what is the next small 2% shift that you can make
Yeah.
and maintain. It's like trying to say, okay, I'm going to start drinking a gallon of water, exercising 2 hours a day, eating only vegetable. It's like that's turning
too
a
big.
big ship too fast. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to likely be unsustainable. But I can make one change, and I can make the next change, and I can make the next change, and eventually 2%, 2%, 2%. It adds up to be able to change a major direction in your life.
That's amazing, because my big thing is wholeness. That's what I feel like. We're on a wholeness journey God's called us to. I have this Moses principle where we're all going to live to 120. We just have to focus.
You and Ted, you're gonna be definitely there.
Me and
Yeah.
Ted.
Yeah.
But in doing that, over these 5 years and losing 70 pounds, congratulations.
Thank you.
How has that transformed your vision for the future?
So one of the things that I thought was really interesting was Ted has been working on a personal issue himself, and I've just seen him grow in his confidence and working on the issue, and I was like, what made the change? He was like, actually watching you commit to and stick with your health goal, because
Wow.
he's seen that be one of my biggest struggles my whole life, especially in being married and having so many kids so fast. And so he's like, just actually watching you stick with that has helped give me confidence that I can stick with this. And it has been something that, like, I just don't mind being in the front in photos.
Yeah.
I don't pile a bunch of kids in front of me anymore, which, I mean, if you've got 4 kids, it's easy to be, here it is, here's me. And so
Taking over
I'm
the
just,
head.
I am more confident. Like on our anniversary trip, I went ziplining. I held on to my own weight and ziplined down to the directed spot. And I was nervous,
Yeah.
but when I finished, I was like, this is part of one of those rewards of all that work.
Yeah.
And it's just it's an intangible that I experienced it. It was for me. It wasn't for anybody else. It was for me. I did that for myself. And the other one of the main issues too that it is translating to is my family. I'm wanting my kids to see, Mom did something hard, so can you.
Yeah.
Mom did something hard over and over again, so can you. Mom cried when it got hard, so can you. Mom got up when it got hard,
That's
so
good.
can you. All of those things, because obviously
so
my
good.
household is going to be my most important field.
Yes.
And so if I can get my crew seeing, and obviously they're on their own journeys, but if I can at least show them Mom did something really hard and so can you, then I've got those people going out and showing other people. And obviously just friends and family and business, it's affected all those things because I am stewarding, finally,
Right.
my body
Yeah.
and my health, and we all can do that.
Yeah. Now, were you brought up with that stewarding your body thought process, or I wasn't either? We were just brought up with
Everything was canned or iceberg lettuce.
Yeah.
And I just
Iceberg
didn't like
lettuce,
most
cereal,
of it. Yes.
you know.
You add sugar to your cereal.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
that's how
So-
it tastes better.
Yeah, and I didn't actually know. I just didn't know until I
Yeah.
was older, for sure.
Yeah.
So, in closing, release a word to the people that will encourage them on their journey.
One of the biggest things I can just say is obedience is confidence.
Yeah,
If you want to feel confident in your walk, in your life, in your business, in your marriage, obedience is the key to confidence. It opens up doors. It opens up finances. It opens up health. It opens up relationships because instead of feeling condemned and all those kinds of things, you feel that confidence. So that's a big word.
I love it. Obedience is confidence. That is amazing. And like I said, you see her information on the screen. Reach out, connect with her. I'm so glad you came. This is an amazing show because for me, I feel like we're aligned together in this journey that God has for us. So thank you for watching. And remember, you're the best investment you can make. Invest in yourself because God is investing in you. And watch us next time. Thanks so much.